Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's stream. Today's topic that we'll be looking at is remote collaborations. I hope you've also had time to catch up on the two previous streams that we've had. First one was about 3 weeks ago. Then the one after that was a week after. Most recently, we've looked at elections. So this week we're looking at remote collaborations and basically helping newsrooms understand how best to utilize the resources in light of a situation we find ourselves in where we can't really sit in a newsroom as has been the norm for a time. So this week we're going to be looking at remote collaborations. I am going to be taking you through the session. My name is Eugene Okumu. I'm the teaching fellow for Google News Lab, taking care of publishers across the Sub-Saharan Africa region. And I'm happy to again be taking you through today's session. And as I've mentioned, today's session, we're looking at remote collaborations, basically understanding how best we can work around better use of resources in light of challenges with being able to sit in same spaces. So my email address, eugenepatrick@google.com. If in the course of this session you have any questions that you'd like to ask, that is my email address. Feel free to reach out. Or if you'd like a tailored session for your newsroom specifically, I'm happy to sit with you and agree on a date and time, and we can then have a session on today's topic, as well as any other topics that we have had in the past. This is the third installment of YouTube live trainings that we're doing for the year. So check those out on our YouTube channel. That's Google News Initiative. And look out for the Sub-Saharan Africa playlist to see whether there's any topics that you'd like tailored sessions with your team specifically. Right, so just as a brief introduction into the Google News Initiative, our primary focus is strengthening the future of journalism, and we primarily do this in three ways. We elevate and strengthen quality journalism with respect to organizations that publish information that is sometimes inaccurate or has not been taken care of to ensure that the readers and the audiences are properly and duly being informed. So we're elevating and strengthening quality journalism. Excuse me. Second pillar is taking care of evolving business models, and this is with the goal of driving sustainable growth, taking care of reader revenue, and a bit of the presentation today will be looking at that. And finally, we're also empowering news organizations through technological innovations. Being a technology company, we are really keen on ensuring that we release tools and techniques to publishers that can enhance how they operate on a regular basis and taking care of their workflow. So just before we get into today's session, we'll look at some of the areas we've already looked at, as well as what's coming up in the weeks to come. So we have Journalism Studio. This was launched on October 22nd. And this is basically tools and technology that work to secure publisher platforms and also add creativity to how storytelling can be done. We looked at elections as our most recent topic, and these are tools that help with finding and visualizing election content, as well as protection around election content. Being a very sensitive category of news and information, there have been instances in the past where news organizations have fallen victims to bad actors who want to skew elections and therefore target outlets that are keen on giving clear account of what's happening with elections. Today, as I mentioned, we're looking at remote collaboration, and this is essentially tools and tricks that optimize newsrooms' ability to tell stories irrespective of geographical challenges. November 23rd at 4 p.m. East Africa time, 2 p.m. GMT, we'll be looking at podcasts. Why transitioning to podcasts is important for news publishers, ideating, iterating, and evaluating your podcasts and seeing the best use of the platforms that can really enhance how people consume content from respective publishers. On the 7th of December, again at 4 p.m. East Africa time or 2 p.m. GMT, we will be looking at data and machine learning and building models that can really enhance how information is disseminated to your respective audiences. We'll conclude this year's and this third phase of online trainings on December 21st, where we'll be looking at verification and fighting the scourge of fake news with a host of tools, some of which we have already looked at in previous editions, but it doesn't hurt to repeat them every so often. Right, so that is what the landscape looks like for our third phase of online live trainings. I hope you're able to stay up to date with what has already been done, as well as set your reminders for the various dates when new content is available on our YouTube channel. That is the Google News Initiative. To find out more information about Google News Lab, as well as to get courses on some of the tools and the techniques that we are showing you at a regular basis, g.co/news training is the URL you want to visit. You can sign up for themed courses that are designed to help with reporting and a host of other considerations to be made, such as verification, as well as visualization of news and information. All right, so on to today's topic, collaborative newsroom. It's all about working together while being apart, and we'll be looking at three key areas of newsroom collaborations, and that is communication, collaboration, as well as real-time content insight. And to start us off, we're going to be looking at communication. Some of the platforms you can use to be in touch in the course of executing on assignments or reviewing performances of platforms. So the distributed newsroom Playroom is a playbook by Google that was developed just at the onset of the coronavirus pandemic that hampered not just news operations, but world economies and brought on the practice of social distancing, meaning that whereas traditionally people would sit in a boardroom to discuss performances of platforms and content and the likes, you're now forced to work apart. So the playbook is essentially a guide to reconfigured workspaces and really helps news organizations to work better with respect to the current situation where we have to work apart. So it's designed to chart a way forward for newsrooms with a very prevalent or with a very imminent reality that workflows will be affected for a time up until we have a full handle on the coronavirus pandemic, and the timelines of that are fluid at the moment, very dynamic and ever changing. So to keep the work going, we created a playbook that can help newsrooms to pivot and continue to provide up-to-date information to their audiences, despite the disruption of not being able to work from the same space. So for communications, what are some of the platforms that we can look at with respect to how to keep in touch in light of the coronavirus pandemic and having to work remotely? So some of the platforms, you might be familiar with these, or you might be hearing them for the first time. We have Slack. It's an emailing system that enables you to assign roles to specific teams and work on projects collaboratively. We have Google Meet. This is developed by Google, of course, and it also enables teams to collaborate on projects remotely over the internet, and it has additional features such as breakout rooms, so that even if you're having a collective meeting, you can also convert that into smaller meetings that then provide feedback to the large meeting that's happening. You also have Zoom, also a video conferencing platform, enables you to work remotely as well. And this is all under the communication element of collaborative newsrooms and working remotely. So you have collaborative production tools for newsrooms. And in this section, we'll be looking at some of the tools that you can use proper for, say, anything from crafting a story to editing it and making sure it's ready to go to print or ready to go online. So it's all about working together to achieve more, because the tendency sometimes of disrupted work is that people often resort to going it alone. And sometimes within the news organization, it is really important to still have that collective approach to news and storytelling. So it's all about everybody chipping in for the collective goal of keeping your audiences informed. So for communication, some of the tools that we can look at is Gmail. We have chat, we have Google Meet, we have documents, we have tasks, and we have a host of other tools that you can use. We have calendars to sort of synchronize how best people can work with timelines in mind. We have reminders just so nothing falls through the cracks in the process of working collectively on a story. So some of the examples of how these work with documents and slides and Google Sheets. A few tips, a few tricks you can use when working collectively on documents is you can use art symbol, for example, to add people who are in your address book on a particular document. If, say, you wanted to highlight something that they might need to take care of. And then for sharing documents, and these work similarly across all our document platforms, and we'll be going into an example of that shortly. You can also share the documents and give levels of access to the documents with the teams that you're sharing your content with. Then you can also either comment or assign tasks to colleagues collaboratively from the documents that you're then using. And at this juncture, I would like to then show us some of those examples and how you can use them. I've gone ahead to set up sample document, and I have text on there that we'll use to show an example of how some of the tools can be used to collaboratively create content from a distance. Right, so we have a sample sentence here, and I'll go ahead and show you the feature where you can add somebody. So, like I mentioned, by using the @ sign, you have a quick drop down of people you can add to the text. I'll go ahead and pick one, And perhaps you can say, is this accurate? For example, this is just an example. So you can add people directly to the text, to the body of the text, in the instance where you are then taking people through how, or rather in the instance where you're collectively working on a document. You also have the option of adding a comment. So let's say the word jumps had a typing error in it. You can highlight it, and you have the option of adding a comment to it. So you go ahead and highlight that. So the keyboard shortcut for that, if you're using a MacBook, is Command Option and M, and then you can add the comment. So you can say, for example, could you provide some context to this section? And then you can post your comment, and as well, you can add a comment or assign a task to someone, and say, for example, could you, for example, get additional material to support this? And then you can check on the assign checkbox, and then click on assign, and the person you have assigned can be notified that you have added a comment which they need to address. So once that is done, all you have to do is then click on comment. And as you will notice, depending on how you have highlighted, you usually have different colors for highlights depending on what it is that needs to be done. In this case, with the typo, all it needs to is a correction, and you can quickly get that done. And in the event of probably highlighting to ask for a different instruction or to assign a role, it also highlights a different color. Now, one of the other things you can do when working on documents is you can click on the share option, and here it brings up a pop-up box that you can then have somebody assign the role. So for example, I'll go ahead to pick I'll go ahead to pick a colleague, and rather than just having him as commenter, you can also have the option of simply giving them access only to view, or you can also have the option of making them the editor. You also have the option of removing, giving temporary access, or making the owner. So it all depends on what it is you want them to do for the particular document that you're working on. So you can select that, give the role, and save, and then they also get notification that a document has been shared with them on mail. So those are just some of the steps you can take when working collectively on a document. And as mentioned on the communication element, because the Google tools are all connected, if to the right of your screen, you can see the option of your calendar. You have the option of keeping content. Just click on that and show you something of it. So it takes a few seconds to load, and then you can select notes, or you can pick items from the particular document you're working on, and those ones will be included in the option to keep. You can also assign tasks, or you can set up tasks relative to a particular document. If there's a location-based information that's needed for a document, you can also always search on that and add that there. So let's say we're looking for Accra Road. can have the option of clicking on the location, and then you can exit from this particular section and open it in a new tab, or you can choose to close it, or you can search for something else. So that's the integration for the set of tools on communication and how you can then use platform to work together collaboratively despite being at a distance or having to work from remote locations. So now I'll jump back into the presentation. So here's an example of another platform you can use collaboratively to pick ideas, put them together, decide on the direction you want to take for a particular project. The platform itself is called Jamboard. And this also works by allowing people to be added into a group, and then you can contribute your ideas on the go. So I'll quickly show us so this is what Jamboard basically looks like. You have options on the left, information that you can gives you a better understanding of the platform. So about Jamboard, help, terms of service, privacy policy, and an option to send feedback. You have options in the event where that you have developed a lot of boards. You can look at boards that are owned by anyone, by yourself, and those that are not owned by you. You have the option to refresh so that in the event that something new is coming up, that can be included as well. You also have an ordering for your boards. So when they are named, you can have either an ascending or descending order. You can also change the view and what the layout looks like. And then you finally have the option to open a jam. So to create one, you simply click on the orange button at the top, at the bottom, and it opens for you. It gives you the option of writing with a pen, writing with an eraser, selecting, adding a sticky note, adding an image, circling something, adding a text box, using laser. So, for example, if I was to then say, this is a training session on how to collaborate on projects remotely. So somebody else can then add a comment, somebody can attach an image. And the beauty of the platform, which is really useful, is that all of this can happen concurrently. So that is to say, I can type out my idea, somebody else puts out a sticky note, somebody else adds an image, somebody might have noted something that I have perhaps not done correctly and can circle it just to highlight it. You can also have the option of erasing something that is not needed on the board. So for example, if I was to say, out now, that might not be relevant for the space. So all I have to do is take an eraser, get rid of that. And then we can make room for other things on the Jamboard. So This is very important for when you're creating content that might not necessarily need to sit in a document permanently, or is very versatile and therefore cannot just be um, done in one approach. So this is really helpful. And you can also scroll through the various Jamboards that have been created. A few other things, you can also set a background for it, or you can just decide to clear the frame and keep it tidy. Or you can open on a Jamboard. So the Jamboard is an actual device, like you saw in the demo video, and that helps you with casting it on the platforms on the device, so that it's also clear to as many people as possible. So that's how Jamboard works. At this juncture, I will jump back into my presentation, and we can move forward to the next section. So the next section is basically on understanding insights of content on your platform once you've done stories. So the next section will help you to understand how people are consuming your content, and metrics that you can focus on when you're working on articles. So I'll go ahead and hit present, then we can scroll. So we're looking at real-time content insights for your website. So we are looking at three things you can do with it. You can optimize your data collection, and this is with the news tagging guide, one of the tools that's available. You can also optimize your reader engagement and funnels, and especially with respect to understanding the kind of content that people are consuming and whether you need to change around the content that you're serving to your audience. And this you can do through News Consumer Insights. And then you can also optimize your content in real time. And the usefulness of that particular feature is that it shows you, once you've hit publish and send a story online, how people are consuming it. So if there's something that needs to change on account of real-time insights, that is a tool to go to that can really enhance how you then serve your content to your audiences. The tools are all available, free to use with this link, goo.gle/data tools. For some of the tools, you need to have Google Analytics because that is where some of the insights are drawn from. But for some of them as well, you don't really need to have the implementation. But it doesn't hurt to have all the tools and have Google Analytics already implemented on your platform. It does not take away from how you can understand your content insights. Right, so news tagging guide shows you three things. It shows you video analytics, it shows you user engagement, and it shows you reader revenue. So the news tagging guide gives you codes that you can use to track these three particular areas of interest. So the whole idea behind the guide is that it gives you insights into what metrics are important for your your platform, and as well gives you recommendations on how best you can optimize the platform for best reader utility and experience. I'll quickly jump into the platform itself proper and show us a few things about how it works. Right, so that's what it looks like when you're accessing it for the time. And it will give you a bit of a description about what the platform does. In this case, News Tagging Guide is a free tool that helps you to make the most of Google Analytics by capturing better data. And then things you'll be able to do is identify key metrics captured from your readers. It will also simplify analytics techniques and implementations with tags that are ready to copy and paste to your site. And then finally, it will amplify the recommendations and insights you'll obtain from consumer insights and real-time content insights. So it does the implementation in 3 steps. So here you can choose the kind of implementation you want. You can choose accelerated mobile pages, tags manager, analytics, and Gtag. And then it will ask you to key in your implementation account ID so that it's working specifically with the platform that you want to use. Again, another very useful element of the platform is that you have a PDF document downloadable that can give you full instructions on all the tags and how you can implement them. So then I'll go into the next bit, which is consumer insights. So here you get a few things. Just before I get into that, this is demo data, but it will typically have this layout when you're opening it and looking at content. So you have actionable recommendations at the top. It will give you some color-coded insights for the categorizations of audiences to your platform. In this case, you're looking at casual readers, loyal readers, and brand lovers. And then it also further breaks down some granular metrics on the various categories of content consumers on your platform. So here, for example, it gives you a percentage of the category with respect to users of your site or your platform, and then it gives you another percentage for contributions of the particular category to your page views. And then it will also give you a percentage of revenue from the particular category. And this is represented across all categories. Then you also have insights on reader engagement. So sorry, before we get into that, if you scroll down, you can see other information about, for example, recommendations and how they help you. So for example, this is what the recommendations would look like. For example, here, newsletter traffic is low. So it might give you insights into whether you need to change distribution of your new site or positioning of your new site, or reducing the number of fields or the processes to getting access to the newsletter. Or perhaps it's just the design of the newsletter itself. Or do people feel drawn enough by the newsletter to really want to sign up for it? Just changing the visuals so that you can see some of the information better. So it also gives you other recommendations around other facets of your platform. So if you have notifications as an option that people can enable so that they are aware there's new content, you also have insights for push notifications. If you have structured data that is missing, you can also get insights on that. If you also have challenges around how the content is then redistributed, it will give you insights into that, and so on and so forth. So these are just examples of some of the recommendations that you get whenever you're using the platform. And to the left here, you also have insights on respective sections. So for example, we're looking at we're looking at a breakdown of the video analytics insights. So again, categorizations of audiences, percentages of readership, number of users, the number of starts for videos. So these are basically statistics to help you understand how people are consuming the video content on your platform. Then you also have reader revenue, which I had discussed. So it helps you understand demographics around who is consuming your content, and the categorizations as well. So as well, here are recommendations on performance and goals and the likes, and a few other insights on how the content is being consumed. Right, so this is an example of some of the codes that you will get with the news tagging guide. So the codes are dependent on what metrics you want to track, as I have shown us on the tagging homepage itself. So you have an option of getting these codes, and it is simplified so that all you have to do is copy the code and paste it in HTML to your website. And of course, for this as well, there's a downloadable PDF guide available when you visit the website, so that it can walk you through. So you don't need extensive coding or programming knowledge. The attached document is pretty concise and can walk you through the entire process. And this is, of course, important because a lot of newsrooms and the nature of collaboration is that individual journalists need to be able to implement such codes so that they also have an understanding of how their content is being consumed across, rather with their audiences. Again, the link to follow is go.gle/data tools. And it helps with identifying in real time how articles are performing on your particular website. I'll quickly show us real-time content and then remote collaboration just before we wind up today's session. In case you have any questions, feel free to send those on email or send those in the comment section, and your questions will be answered accordingly. So I'm just retrieving these other tabs, then we can get into it. So we had looked at this a bit. Shows you categorizations, identifies and optimizes the new converts. And then one more thing I'd like to show us is Real-Time Content Insights. Here we go. So again, this one is also using demo data, but this is typically the layout when you want to, once you have signed in with your Google Analytics platform, which is shown by this button up here. Click to sign in, and then it will give you the option of selecting the particular Google Analytics account you want to associate with the Real-Time Content Insights platform. So a couple of things to note. On the left side, you have the real-time article performance, you have the real-time video performance. I can just click through those and show you a few things. Then you have historic performance. This one is collected over a period of time, which is something you can also set so that you have a better understanding. And then you also have the option to look at what's trending in your region. This particular instance has a staggered rollout. At the moment, it works mostly for the US market, but in the next few months, it will be available in multiple regions, including the Sub-Sahara region. So that's something to look forward to. So this, for example, is showing you articles and how they're performing in a particular website. As I mentioned, this is demo data. It's not reflective of how an actual website is performing, but it's for purposes of illustrating how the tool works and the kind of metrics it collects. So we had looked at categorizations of audiences. We had seen the loyal, we had seen the casual, and we'd seen the brand lovers. So those are color coded, if you remember. So the loyal customers are shown in blue. The casual are shown in purple. And then you also have recirculation. So the recirculation button is also color coded. If it's green, it means that the recirculation is doing well. If it's red, it shows that the recirculation might not be doing as well. And then you can see the page speed. So this one helps you understand if there's issues concerning accessing the document. So if it's red, and as you can see, it's above average page speed. Green shows you that it's below average. So depending on how you want the content consumed, either category will help you to make a decision on how you want the content to be consumed. So at the top here, you have a visual. This is mostly for your homepage. You can choose to keep that included, or you can switch it off so that it just lists for you just the articles. And this one lists about 20 to 30 articles, but you can keep uploading new articles as you need to. Then so you have the articles, and then you have some metrics here. You have real-time readers, you have page views of a duration, in this case 30 minutes, and then you also have the categorization of audiences. So you have either loyal or casual. In this case, we're looking at an example of an article with more loyal readers than casual readers, an article that has above average circulation, and an article that has below average page speed. So you can, you also have a drop-down menu that can give you additional insights. Here we're looking at geography and where the article is being consumed. At some point in time, we'll have the option to see regions in the Sub-Saharan Africa region represented. And depending on how your country is demarcated, you either have the regional or city analytics. So depending on what works for you and what is available, you can then filter it accordingly. And then you have the referral sources. So you have, in this case, direct traffic to the site. We have traffic from Google, either from Google News or from Google Search. Then you have social media handles and other distribution platforms that lead to referral traffic. You have analytics for the day on the categorization of audiences. So here you have casual or loyal, and then you have recirculation. And we had seen, depending on what color the visual shows, it will give you insights into how the recirculation is doing. Then it also shows you page speed. And then device on which the content is being consumed from. Scroll depth, of course, tells you how far down the page people have gone. And then the same information is available for the articles that I have presented. And then you have a dashboard for the performance. So you have the number of real-time readers on the platform. You have the daily visits compared to the average visits for the duration that can be set, in this case about 30 days. And then you have the geography, you have the region in which the content is being consumed from. Then you also have additional information on the referral sources, breakdown of audiences, the device, recirculation and page speed, as well as scroll depth. And this is something that's also available for real-time video performance. As you can see, you have insights into the number of people concurrently viewing the videos at the point at which you're checking. And then you also have a breakdown of the audience. Are they casual? Are they loyal? And then completion rate. And this one is also color coded, so it will give you information depending on how people are consuming the content. And then are people unmuting the video? Are they watching it on mute? And this is with respect to whether your video has closed captioning or not. And then are people viewing it in full screen, or are they leaving it as a widget? So this one is also has a drop down, so it can show you some granular details. In this case, you're looking at a region where the content is being consumed, referral traffic, breakdown of the audience, the rate of unmuting, the device on which the video is being viewed, and the format in which the video is being viewed, as well as completion rate. So it shows you instances in which the video is being completed. So here, 25%, 94% of users got to the 25%. Rather, 94% of users watched 25% of the video. 92% of users went on to view 50% of the video. 90% looked at 75% of the video, and for people who completed the video, 88% 88% represents the number of people who consumed the video. So it shows you all that insight into how the content is being viewed. So you have the option of checking auto refresh, and this one happens every 3 minutes or every 180 seconds. So you can leave it off or you can switch it on depending on how you'd like. And if you are looking at content from an actual website, you have the option of leaving it grayed out, in which case it means it's not updating automatically. But if you switch it on, it then changes color and is blue, meaning it does the refreshing automatically every 180 seconds. So to the left here, you can also see historic performance. So you're looking at how content is performing over a 30-day period. This is by default. And then it will also look at other metrics such as recirculation and the reader categories. And it has the goal of giving you better understanding of how your content is being consumed. So you can always change the duration that you're interested in looking at. In days to come, you'll also be able to filter by author, so that you're looking specifically at how one contributor's content is doing over a particular period of time. And if they're also looking at various contributing for various categories, you can have both filters on and look at how the content is doing across all categories. So there's also content engagement ranking, there's page view ranking, and then there's also top performing and lowest performing. So So if you click on that, you can see a few other interesting points of information here. So you have page views, you have newsletter sign-up rate, you have affiliate click rate, you have loyal readers and the percentage, you have social share rate, you have recirculation and comment rate. So depending on whether you want to track comments on articles or shares on articles, or how content is being recirculated from the tag manager that we are looking at, or the tagging guide that we have discussed previously, you have codes for all of these categories that you're interested in looking at. And so once you implement those and the platform is tracking that activity, you can then have the insights presented in the historic performance section. So you can also look at trends in your region, and this one is also a work in progress, something that is being updated. You can expect once it's fully implemented to show you categories of information. So real-time search trends, and this one is generated from Google Trends, which of course picks its content from Google Search, Google Newsroom, and YouTube Search. So it will also be able to show you trends in search, top articles, and as well trending videos and your top videos. So it just gives you a breakdown of the two so that you have a better understanding of how you're serving your content. The platform also has quick tips. It will usually highlight to you a few things you can do, as well as give you better understanding of the various sections of the platform itself. You also have documentation guide. As I mentioned, this is something that you can download so that you have better implementation of the content that you're interested in looking at. And then you also have a privacy policy just to have a better understanding of how giving access to the platform works and what it means for the kind of content that it is able to draw from the instances of information that are provided to it. So again, the link to follow if you're interested in getting the information, or interested in the tools rather, GOO.gle/data tools. As I'd mentioned before, all the tools are free to use, and some of them are optimized to be used with Google Analytics. So they will need access to your Google Analytics account, and you can then be on your way to a better understanding of how your content is being consumed online. To learn more about this and a host of other tools and techniques you can use to better tell stories online, g.co/news training. As I'd mentioned, the platform has themed courses that you can go through, ranging anywhere from between 5 to 15 minutes. And it's not sequential, so it is entirely up to you and how you want to consume the content, with due consideration to time constraints as well as needs that you might have at a particular point in time. So g.co/news training. We have over 90 modules on a variety of courses, and now with the added feature of downloadable certificates once you take the quizzes at the end of the courses in PDF, and that is sent to you on email. So if you have any questions on trainings or tools, feel free to reach out to newslabsupport@google.com. We're more than happy to assist you with any needs that you might have in your news and storytelling journey. For specialized or for tailored trainings, on Google Hangouts for individual newsrooms. You can use the same email address to put forth that request. And then the next training will be on podcasts, and this will be on the 23rd of November 2020. That's going to be at 2 p.m. GMT or 4 p.m. East Africa time. So please take note of that. You can also follow information about the forthcoming trainings on the Google Africa Twitter handle. So you can also stay up to date on when the topic next is announced. Thank you so much for attending the session today. I hope you've had some important insights that you can use with respect to understanding how your content is consumed. I have been your facilitator, Eugene Okumu. I am teaching fellow for the News Lab in Sub-Saharan Africa region. My email address, eugenepatrick@google.com, in case you have any questions or you'd like to reach out directly about tailored trainings for your newsrooms. I'm happy to facilitate those as and when the requests come through. But from me, thank you so much, and hope to see you on the 23rd of November at 4 p.m. East Africa time, where we'll be looking at podcasts. So enjoy your evenings and have a fruitful rest of the week.